Have you ever looked at your blood pressure reading, smiled because it was normal, and thought, I'm doing everything right? What if that number wasn't telling you the whole story? What if the reading that gives you peace of mind is quietly hiding a problem that could affect your memory, your balance, and even your risk of stroke? Here's something that surprises many older adults. Some people over the age of 60 don't experience a stroke simply because their blood pressure stayed too high. Instead, the problem begins when the brain doesn't receive enough steady blood flow, even while the blood pressure monitor displays numbers that seem perfectly acceptable. It sounds impossible, but it happens more often than most people realize. After caring for thousands of older patients, I've learned that a reassuring blood pressure number can sometimes create a false sense of security. The brain is incredibly demanding. Although it makes up only a small percentage of your body weight, it requires a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood every second of every day, no matter what you're doing. Your brain doesn't care whether you're reading the newspaper, sleeping peacefully, or walking to the mailbox. It simply expects a reliable delivery of blood. When that delivery becomes inconsistent, the warning signs are often subtle. You may forget why you walked into a room or lose your train of thought halfway through a conversation. You may stand up and feel unsteady for a few seconds before blaming it on getting older. Most people never connect those moments with their circulation. Instead, they blame stress, they blame age, or they convince themselves that everyone their age feels this way. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes your brain has been asking for help much longer than anyone realizes. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret was 72 years old, a retired librarian who loved crossword puzzles and never missed her morning walk around the neighborhood. She did everything she believed a healthy person should do. She took her medications exactly as prescribed, avoided smoking, and rarely missed a doctor's appointment. Every visit ended the same way. Your blood pressure looks excellent. Those words became comforting, and she stopped worrying. Then something changed so gradually that neither she nor her family noticed at first. She began forgetting appointments and repeating stories she'd told only an hour earlier. One afternoon, Margaret became dizzy while watering her garden and had to sit down on the driveway until the spinning stopped. Her family assumed it was dehydration. Margaret assumed she simply wasn't as young as she used to be. Like many older adults, she brushed the symptoms aside and carried on with her daily routine. Months later, after additional testing, her doctor discovered something unexpected. Her blood pressure wasn't dangerously high. In fact, it looked almost ideal during office visits. The real issue was that her brain wasn't receiving a consistent blood supply throughout the day. Her numbers looked good, but her circulation did not. Cases like Margaret's are one of the reasons I always remind my patients that medicine isn't about chasing perfect numbers. It's about protecting organs. The monitor on your kitchen table measures pressure, but it does not directly measure how well blood reaches your brain. And that's a very important difference. I'm Dr. James Carter, a cardiologist who has spent more than 3 decades helping older adults reduce their risk of heart attacks and strokes. During those years, I've learned something that changed the way I read every blood pressure log placed in front of me. I no longer look only at whether the numbers are normal. Instead, I look for patterns. I look for consistency. I look for clues that tell me whether the heart and blood vessels are working together to nourish the brain every minute of the day. Because sometimes the danger isn't obvious. Sometimes it whispers instead of shouting. To understand why this happens, imagine your brain as a busy city. Every neighborhood depends on delivery trucks bringing food, medicine, and supplies throughout the day. Now imagine those trucks begin arriving late. Not completely absent, just delayed often enough that stores slowly begin running short. Nothing dramatic happens on the first day, or even the second. But after weeks or months, the shortages become impossible to ignore. Your brain works in a surprisingly similar way. Instead of delivery trucks, it depends on tiny blood vessels carrying oxygen and nutrients to billions of nerve cells every single moment. Those nerve cells have almost no backup supply. Even small reductions in blood flow can gradually affect concentration, balance, reaction time, and memory. The changes often happen so slowly that people assume they're simply experiencing the normal effects of aging, when something more important may actually be happening. Here's what many people don't realize. As we grow older, our arteries naturally become less flexible. Healthy arteries behave like soft elastic tubes. Each heartbeat gently stretches them before they spring back, helping keep blood moving smoothly toward the brain with every beat of the heart. Over time, however, those arteries become stiffer. Instead of absorbing each heartbeat, they transmit pressure more abruptly. The result isn't simply higher blood pressure. It's less efficient circulation. Think of squeezing water through an old garden hose that's become stiff after years in the sun. The water still comes out, but it no longer flows with the same smooth consistency. That's exactly what can happen inside aging blood vessels. And here's the surprising part. Many people focus only on lowering blood pressure as much as possible, believing lower is always better. But if treatment isn't carefully individualized, lowering blood pressure too aggressively in certain older adults may reduce the steady blood flow the brain depends on. That doesn't mean blood pressure medicine is harmful. Far from it. These medications have saved millions of lives and continue to do so every day. The goal is balance, not chasing the lowest number possible. That's why the conversation should always be about protecting your heart and your brain together. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you 5 warning signs many seniors overlook, explain why they happen, and share practical questions you can discuss with your doctor. Because sometimes the healthiest decision isn't finding the lowest number, it's finding the safest one.